I was born to preach the gospel. I was born to preach the gospel. I was born to preach the gospel. And I sure do love my job, yeah. I was born to preach the gospel. I was born to preach the gospel. I was born to preach the gospel. And I sure do love my job, yeah. Yes, I really love my job. I'm a disciple that makes disciples, that makes disciples. Oh, I'm a disciple that makes disciples, that makes disciples. I'm a disciple that makes disciples, that makes disciples. Yes, I'm a disciple that makes disciples, that makes disciples. I'm a disciple that makes disciples, that makes disciples. I'm a disciple that makes disciples, that makes disciples. Get firmly rooted. So let's get firmly rooted. Let's get firmly rooted. So let's get firmly rooted. Oh, I'm a disciple that makes disciples, that makes disciples. I'm a disciple that makes disciples, that makes disciples. I'm a disciple that makes disciples, that makes disciples. Let's get firmly rooted. Firmly rooted. Let's get firmly rooted. Yeshua, 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 Yeshua. I'm a disciple that makes disciples, that makes disciples. We're disciples that make disciples, that make disciples. We are disciples that make disciples, that make disciples. We are disciples that make disciples, that make disciples. Let's keep firmly rooted. Firmly rooted.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Rooted Men, Firmly Rooted Ministries, and Oxford Freedom Church. Matt Ryan, Elder, Firmly Rooted. Pleasure to be with you this morning. Enjoying the chill in the air, but a beautiful morning nonetheless. Sunshine, pretty sounds, lots of birds, all the things that make summer worth the suffering of winter here in Michigan. We got a bunch of you joining us this morning. Let's see if I can. Oh, yeah, there you go. Good morning, Ken. Good morning, Tom. Patricia, good morning. Jody, good morning. Steve, Roger, Bert, Dave, good morning. Others joining us. I'm not real good and consistent about putting those comments on and off, so sorry if I miss you, but thanks so much for being with us. Rooted Men, such a great opportunity to dig into Word and kind of challenge ourselves to be in action, challenge ourselves to learn not only the truth of the Word, but apply it to ourselves, apply it to our lives. This morning, we have Isaiah 53, the first few verses, which is one of the most often quoted and used parts of Scripture, I would say. It's in lots of worship songs, and especially in the Christian world, it's Isaiah, known as a great prophet, very much viewed as prophecy about Jesus. One of those kind of the areas where I suppose the only way of putting it from our perspective is the Jews who chose to remain Jews, who chose not to understand and accept the fulfillment of the law and the prophecies fulfillment when Jesus came, up to that point, really probably the point of Jesus's death, when so much of this was lived out. It was kind of believed and accepted by scholars that Isaiah's prophecies were painting a picture of the personification of Israel, of the Jewish people as a person, rather than it specifically pointing to one person. So kind of just have that in the background as you're reading historically how this was interpreted, until it was understood that Jesus was, in fact, the fulfillment of all these things. So who has believed our message, and to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? He grew up before him like a tender shoot, and like a root out of dry ground. He had no beauty or majesty to attract us to him, nothing in his appearance that we should desire him. He was despised and rejected by mankind, a man of suffering and familiar with pain, like one from whom people hide their faces. He was despised, and we held him in low esteem. We make so much at Christmas time and at Easter time about how Jesus came to be man and divinity in one. Interesting way to look at things, right? There's so many ways to go, and obviously it's why this verse gets used all the time. So I actually kind of wrote a structured study because I felt really bad about missing a couple weeks ago, and I felt like I owed you guys one. So I'm gonna read from my phone a little bit of what I had written. So we live in a culture that's obsessed with visual impact, right? Social media algorithms reward the striking, the beautiful, the glamorous. When we think of power, influence, and royalty, we visualize grandeur, right? We expect a king to arrive with fanfare and trumpets, dressed in fine linen, surrounded by a royal guard, commanding the immediate attention of everyone in the room. But a couple thousand years ago, or several thousand years ago, Isaiah painted a radically different picture of the ultimate king, the suffering servant who would be the Messiah, not a triumphant warrior conquering empires with physical might, but someone completely unremarkable by human standards, someone we would miss on social media, a wallflower maybe, someone who would blend into the background. So this reading is really about how God can use the ordinary, the overlooked, and the painful seasons of life to reveal his greatest glory. So beginning with verse 1, who has believed our message? To whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? He grew up like a tender shoot and a root out of dry ground. So this is really a powerful question. Who has believed our message? Because what he's going to describe goes against everything that made sense. All human logic, which human logic is so desperate to make all of this fit in a way that we can make sense of it in our small minds. I can say that. We're so desperate to understand that we can even stick to the personification of a people rather than this being one person, right? It's totally against all logic. But who has heard it? This Messiah who is a tender shoot and a root growing out of dry ground. Think of it. Think of desert soil, maybe, that you've seen, cracked, parched, lifeless soil. No chance for anything. Everything's working against it. The sun beats down. There's no water. The nutrients are gone. It's fragile. It looks like it shouldn't survive. It's a feeding trough for animals out in the desert. Where Jesus entered our world. Truly humble origin, right? Not born in a palace. He was born in a trough. Ordinary life, growing up in Nazareth, right? An unremarkable town. Can anything good come from Nazareth? Not a great social media presence so far, right? Unremarkable appearance. No physical beauty or majesty to draw people to him. He wasn't known for having some mystical blue eyes or something like that that drew people in and made them comfortable, or some sex appeal, right? He didn't look like Hollywood would make him look. He looked like an ordinary man every day. So, what I want to ask you, gentlemen and ladies, how often do we look at our own dry ground? Our broken relationships, our financial struggles, our plain everyday routines, and assume that it's dry ground, that God's not there. He rarely starts his great works with an explosion of huge successes. He starts them with a tender root in that dry soil. He works in the quiet, the hidden, the less impressive areas of our lives. The Hebrew text describes Jesus as a man of sorrows. We talk about rejected by mankind, a man of suffering. Not a God of, distant God looking down on human suffering from a comfortable throne, but stepping directly into it, become familiar with it, become familiar with rejection, misunderstood by his family, abandoned by close friends, hated by religious elite. Boy, we've got all swaths of society who can relate to that. How many people have you heard say they hate the church or they hate religion or they're never coming back because of things that have been done, ways they've been hurt, right? Become isolated, like one from whom people hide their faces. Someone who's so broken, like the leper, that they make people uncomfortable to look at them. When he walked the earth, Jesus experienced this full spectrum of human heartache. He wept at the graveside of Lazarus. He felt the sting of betrayal from Judas. He experienced the agony of the cross, the physical pain, the emotional weight of carrying the sins of the world. We can't forget that we serve a Savior who understands our pain intimately, who understands that when we feel lonely, rejected, broken by circumstances, crushed under the weight, that we're not crying out to a stranger. We're praying to a God who knows exactly what it feels like to be where we are. Our grief, our pain, our agony are not barriers to God. They're exactly where we meet him, where we find that commonality. So these three verses not only paint this remarkable picture of prophecy, of telling the future truly, but of painting the picture in a way that we can understand that God is coming to be with us. That a world that looks at outward appearances is mistaken because God looks at the heart. The world flees from pain and suffering and tries to avoid it, but God uses it to bring healing, to bring redemption, to bring relationship and community, to bring us out of isolation. He chose that path of humility, rejection, and human life so that he could fully be with us, fully rescue us from the wages of our sin. He became unremarkable. so that we could see the true, remarkable glory of God's love and grace. So as we go about our day and our weekend, look for God in the quiet places. Remember He's there. Trust that even if you feel like a dry ground that can't even take root, that there's no hope of a shoot coming, that God is still nourishing you, still growing you, and writing a story of redemption through your life. Think about what ways that even though our culture pressures us to prioritize physical appearance, status, outward success, how's God really seeing us? How are we doing in our heart? Not with clicks and likes. So I'm challenging us all. Find God in the dry ground. Take comfort in the fact that Jesus knows you are suffering, probably to a higher degree. Stop hiding your faces. And let's practically look at ways that we can realign our eyes this week to be seeking God's presence, to not be waiting for big moments, but finding Him in the little things and remembering that we're alive, we're being redeemed, we're being carried through all of the little things. I love you, gentlemen. I hope that's an encouraging word. And for those of you who are into numerology, there is all this study of numbers, and you can kind of make crazy things happen. And I don't know what there is to it, but the number 53, in whether it's Hebrew or Greek, I forget. I will find out for you, but I've read numerologists study and say that the words for 53 actually are stone or cornerstone, and that biblically the number 5 represents grace, and the number 3 represents perfect divinity, like in the triune God. So 53 is the joining of grace, humanity, and the divine to be the cornerstone. One of those interesting things. Again, I don't know that it was even numbered when it was written, but it's fun to think about things like that. So, gentlemen, let's always approach God the Word this way. Hearts that are excited to see, to hear, and to find where God is coming to meet us. I love you all. Let's make it a great day and a firmly rooted day. May someone see Jesus in us today.